Alright, you guys, so on today's lesson, we are going to be starting to factor quadratics. And in this case, this is the introduction, so this is intro to factoring, and we are going to be factoring using the diamond method. In this case, guys, a quadratic expression does have the form of an ax squared plus a bx plus c, where a in this case represents our leading coefficient, b represents our x coefficient, and c represents the constant. So a, once again, is the number that's always in front of the x squared, b is the number in front of the x, and c is the constant, which is the number that's by itself. Now, using the diamond method in this case, guys, we do have the structure of an x, where on top we're going to have our a times c. So whatever a and c equals, we write on top, and then we have our b value on the bottom. In this case, we do have to fill this form of a puzzle where we have to find two factors. In this case, those factors would be here that multiply to a times c. So whatever our number is up here, these two numbers multiply to it, and at the same time they're also going to be adding to the bottom one. So let's go ahead and get started here with example 1. And example 1 in this case, guys, says a factor as a product of two binomials. We are going to be factoring this quadratic expression as a product of two binomials. So our first step in this case, guys, we will be identifying or labeling our a, b, and c value. A in this case, guys, represents the leading coefficient. There is a number here in front, but it's actually invisible, and that number is going to be a 1. It's an invisible 1. In this case, b is a -3, and c is a -10. So once again, a represents our leading coefficient, which is a number in front of the x squared. B represents our x coefficient in front of the x, and c represents our constant, which is a number that's by itself. Now, once we build or we identify a, b, and c, we're going to go ahead and build our diamond here. And the diamond in this case, guys, is simply an x. On top of the diamond, we do have a times c. On the bottom, we have a b value. Now, a times c in this case, guys, is 1 times a -10, which in this case gives us a -10. And b in this case has a value of -3. Now, we want to go ahead and identify these values here, these factors. And I am going to be making a list in this case of factors that give us 10 or -10. So numbers that give us 10 here is 1 times a 10 and 2 times a 5. Now, in this case, guys, we do have a -10 here. So because this 10 is negative, it means that one of our factors has to be a negative. So one of these has to be a negative and also one of these. Now, based on our b value here, since my b is a negative number, then that means that my biggest factors will also be negative. So in this case, this is negative and this is negative. All right. Now, the next thing I want to go ahead and check to see which factors I'll be using is I want to go ahead and add each of the factors in this case to see which one gives me a value of b, my b value. So if I add a 1 and a -10, I get a -9, and if I add a 2 and a -5, I get a -3. So the one in this case that gives us our b value is going to be 2 and -5. So our factors in this case are 2 and -5. Now, from here, guys, I'm going to go ahead and actually do the Jaime Escalante method. This is the Jaime Escalante method. And Jaime Escalante was a math teacher in Los Angeles, and he's well known, and he did come up with this method. So in this case, what Jaime Escalante method says is that you're going to actually divide your factors that you just found by your leading coefficient, which is 1, and x. So in this case, I will be dividing by x. I could put 1x, guys, but once again, putting a 1 in there, it's not going to make a difference. So I'm just going to leave it as x. Our next step is to check if we can simplify these fractions, and we really can't simplify them. So this is actually our final answer. So let's go ahead and write it as binomials. So from here, let's go ahead and bring it down here. And that is x plus 2 times x minus 5. And this here, guys, is our final answer. That is our final answer. All right, let's go ahead and see the next one. Once again, same idea. We have x squared minus a 4x plus 40. First step in this case, guys, is to identify our a, b, and c values. So A in this case, guys, once again, is going to be our leading coefficient. B in this case is going to be our x coefficient, and C represents the constant. So in this case, this is a 1. This is a negative 14. And this is a 40. All right, now let's go ahead and build our diamond here. And on the diamond, guys, we have A times C on top. And on the bottom, we have a B. So A times C in this case, guys, that's actually going to give us a 40. Because it's 1 times 40, that gives us a 40. And our B value in this case is negative 14. Now, in order to find these factors, I will be creating a list of factors for 40. 40. Now, numbers that multiply to give me 40 is 1 and 40, 2 and 20, 4 and 10, and 5 and 8. Now, one thing, guys, because this here is a positive number, the factors in this case could either be 2 positives, give you a positive, or 2 negatives, give you a positive. Now, because my bottom value in this case, because B is a negative, then that means that both of my factors in this case will be a negative as well. So I'm actually going to write them as negatives. Write them as negatives here. And now I want to go ahead and add them to see which one gives me our B value. So we want to go ahead and add them. This one gives me negative 41. This one gives us negative 22. This one gives us negative 14. And negative 13. So the one that gives us our B value in this case is, let's see if you can see it, it's this one here. All right, so let's go ahead and write our factors here. We have a negative 4 and a negative 10. Now, Jaime Escalante method in this case says we're going to go ahead and be dividing each of our factors by our leading coefficient and x. So I'm just going to divide by x. And we really can't simplify. So let's go ahead and write our binomials here. So then that's going to give us x minus a 4 times x minus a 10. Or it could also be the other way around, guys, where it's x minus a 10 times x minus a 4. It's the same thing. All right.